Member for Fredericton South and Leader of his party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm hearing from tenants around the province that landlords are getting around the rent cap bill. One elderly couple in my riding was given notice of an unaffordable rent increase just before the bill was brought to first reading. Well, that was withdrawn, and then they were issued a new notice of an unaffordable rent increase to take effect after the rent cap is supposed to elapse at the end of the year. Others are being rent evicted since the rent cap doesn't apply to the building's units, but to current tenants. So property owners looking to cash in on the increasing market rents today in the face of the rent cap are evicting tenants under the guise of major renovations. Even the New Brunswick Apartment Owners Association has called out a rental property owner in Bathurst what they labelled a predatory rental strategy. Clearly, the rent cap bill will not achieve its goal to protect tenants from unaffordable rent increases as drafted. Will the Minister for Service New Brunswick amend her bill to close those serious loopholes?
Minister of Service New Brunswick.
Thank you for this very important question that certainly I was anticipating today and hoping you would bring up. As MLAs here in the province of New Brunswick, we're all concerned about our constituents and the 38,000 plus units that are rental properties here in the province of New Brunswick. And I can guarantee you, right here today, that the small percentage of landlords who are trying to find loopholes to circumvent this system are not going to be successful. And the upcoming legislation that we're putting through, are you aware that there are only going to be 4 reasons why a landlord can terminate a rental agreement? 1, if a relative to the landlord will occupy the unit. Secondly, if extensive renovations will be done that will warrant an empty unit. 3, if an employment contract related to the maintenance or management of the unit has ended. And 4, the unit will be converted for non-residential reasons.
Good job.
Other than that,
Minister. Member for Fredericton South and Leader of his party.
Mr. Speaker, it was Frank McKenna who ended New Brunswick Housing's role as a vital and effective Crown corporation. Before that, it successfully carried out its legislated mandate to ensure an adequate supply of affordable housing for New Brunswickers in the last affordable housing crisis. It was Bernard Lord who ended the government's role in pursuing any kind of housing policy altogether more than 20 years ago. Today, Mr. Speaker, I understand the Treasury Board is developing recommendations for how this government can re-establish some kind of proactive role in housing policy and programming in this province beyond social housing and subsidies at social development. Can the Premier tell the House what options are under consideration? Will he restore New Brunswick Housing as a fully operational Crown corporation? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Minister of Social Development.
Mr. Speaker, I want to take a moment to thank the people in the Housing Department, in the Social Development Office. We have over 300 people working very, very hard, very diligently to make sure that the housing units are up to snuff, make sure that the repairs are done, and make sure that they're dealing with some of the nonprofits, some of the private landowners, some of the private developers to make sure that there are options for people out there that need housing. And Mr. Speaker, this housing budget, so additional bureaucracy is not going to add to the issue here, Mr. Speaker, and that's why, Mr. Speaker, we moved this year to have one of the largest budgets in housing in the province, in the history of the province of New Brunswick. $120 million, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, over the last 2 years, that budget has increased over 20%. And Mr. Speaker, we actually exceeded the number of new units that we're putting into the market for affordable housing here in the province of New Brunswick. And the next section is going to double that as well.